The billionaire tore his wife's dress and laughed until her next words ruined him publicly. Hello everyone, before we begin today's story, I have a small favor to ask. Please hit subscribe and turn on the notification bell so you never miss our channel's new videos. It's quick, free, and the best way to support us in bringing you more dramatic stories. Your support means the world to us. Where are you watching from? Drop your city or country in the comments below. Thank you very much. Now let's return to our main character. The champagne lights of the Blackwood Foundation Gala shimmer across the marble floor, the kind of glow that belongs to the rich, the powerful, the untouchable. Cameras click in rapid bursts, pearls glitter on every neckline, and a string quartet hums in the corner as if money itself hired the music. And in the center of all that elegance stands Lila Blackwood, the billionaire's quiet contract wife, clutching the soft fabric of the dress she had ironed 3 times before stepping out tonight. It isn't a designer piece like the gown swirling around her. It isn't handmade in Paris or threaded with crystals. It's simple, clean, soft ivory, one Ezra bought for her months ago, back when the marriage felt like a negotiation, not a sentence. She breathes in, holding her notepad-sized clutch close to her ribs, the little habit she developed to stop her hands from shaking at public events. She repeats the rules in her head, the same rules written in ink on page 3 of the contract. Do not embarrass Ezra. Do not speak unless spoken to. Do not draw attention. Maintain the image. But the room always feels too loud, too sharp, too glittering, as if every pair of eyes can see exactly how out of place she is. A server passes with lobster crostini, and the smell of butter makes her stomach twist. She hasn't eaten since noon. Ezra arrives 10 minutes late, as always, tall and immaculate in a charcoal suit worth more than her mother's entire house. His presence slices through the room like a change in weather. People turn. They always do. They greet him like he is a king returning from war. Lila straightens instinctively, smoothing the fabric of her dress, reminding herself she is here to be a wallflower, a decorative piece, a polite silhouette in his shadow. Ezra's jaw tightens when he spots her. Not warm. Not kind. Something closer to annoyed. You're standing in the wrong place, he murmurs, barely moving his lips as he approaches her. The photographers want the staircase in the background. Not the bar. She nods quickly. I didn't realize, you never do, he mutters, glancing at the cameras. She swallows the sting, burying it with practiced ease. She has gotten good at that, folding every hurt into a tiny invisible square she keeps somewhere behind her ribs. He offers his arm because the cameras are watching, not because he wants her nearby. She takes it because the contract demands it, not because she feels wanted. Flash after flash burns across her vision as they pose, his hand resting on her waist with the same warmth as polished steel. Smile, he whispers through his teeth. She does. Of course she does. But then a reporter calls out, Mrs. Blackwood, who designed your gown? It looks different from the usual couture. The pause is microseconds long, but it feels like a drop down a deep elevator shaft. Ezra's hand tightens at her waist, and she knows, oh God, she knows, he hates when the illusion cracks. When people realize she doesn't fit. When they sense she's not the glamorous wife he parades across magazines. It's just something I had tailored, Lila says softly. The reporter smiles kindly. But Ezra doesn't. Something dark flickers across his face, a flash of old fury, new insecurity, wounded pride. His voice drops low. I told you to wear the silver gown. It didn't fit, she whispers. I didn't want, you never listen. His fingers latch onto the delicate fabric at her side. She barely has time to gasp before it happens, rip. The sound cuts through the music, through the laughter, through the entire glittering ballroom. He tears the side seam of her dress open with one violent pull. Cameras erupt in a frenzy. Gasps ripple like falling dominoes. Lila freezes, every nerve in her body turns into glass. Ezra laughs. Actually laughs. A cold, sharp, dismissive sound. A dress like this? You're lucky I let you leave the penthouse wearing it. The humiliation burns so hot she feels faint for a moment. Her ears ring. Her vision blurs. Her fingers tremble around her clutch. But then, something inside her shifts. Breaks. Reforms. She straightens. She lifts her chin. She steps out of his grasp. And when she speaks, her voice is steady enough to silence the entire room. If you're done tearing my dress, Ezra, she turns toward the crowd, toward the cameras now pointed entirely at her. Then it's time I tear the truth. The room stops breathing. And for the first time tonight, Ezra looks afraid. The room freezes around Lila as her words echo through the glittering air, every camera turning toward her as if she has suddenly become the center of gravity. Ezra's breath catches, just once, barely visible, but enough for her to notice. He expected fear. He expected silence. He never expected this. The quartet stops playing mid-note. The lights grow hotter, harsher, as if the entire ballroom is holding up a mirror to his cruelty. Lila keeps her shoulders straight, one hand pressed lightly against the torn edge of her gown to keep it from slipping. Her voice is steady, almost calm. You want to humiliate me, Ezra? Fine. But humiliation is a two-way street. Murmurs spread like sparks across dry leaves. Ezra steps forward, his tone low and warning. Lila? Stop. Stop. She almost laughs, but there is no humor in it. You tore my dress in front of every investor, every guest, every reporter. And you think I will stop? Someone in the crowd whispers, what did he do? Another whispers, is she leaving him? Lila lifts her clutch, her fingers brushing the zipper. Inside it is the small notebook she carries to every event, filled with every scheduled detail, every social cue, every rule he insisted she memorize. But tucked in the back of that notebook is something else. Something she never planned to use. Not until tonight. Ezra sees her open the clutch and tenses. Lila? I am warning you. No, she answers softly. You warned me for an entire year. I listened. I obeyed. I stayed quiet. But not tonight. Her fingers brush the folded paper. The evidence she found 2 weeks ago. The email chain. The financial numbers. The one thing he never expected her to understand. The one thing that could break the image he worships. But she does not pull it out. Not yet. She lets the silence build, a growing wave ready to crash. Flashback memories slice through her mind, the night she signed the contract with shaking hands, her mother's hospital bills stacked like a wall behind her. The night she cried quietly in the penthouse bathroom so no one would hear, the humiliation of learning how to smile perfectly on command, the way Ezra's coldness spread like winter into every corner of the home she lived in but never belonged to. Lila looks out at the crowd. I am not here to ruin my husband, she says clearly. I am here to defend myself. The gasps soften into something else. Something like sympathy. Then, without warning, the room security shifts, and Ezra's head of security appears at the edge of the ballroom, quietly signaling to him. Something is happening behind the scenes. Something he did not plan. Ezra swears under his breath. Lila sees it and her heart stutters, because it means one thing, he is losing control. She turns slightly, giving the cameras her profile. For a year, I kept the rules you gave me. Tonight, you broke every rule of decency. Ezra's voice cracks through the murmurs. Lila, you are overreacting. It was a joke. A joke. She steps backward, the torn gown brushing against her leg. You tore my dress because it did not fit your image. But maybe the truth is that nothing I do ever will. The cameras flash again. A reporter lifts her hand. Mrs. Blackwood, are you saying your husband mistreats you? Ezra's jaw clenches. His eyes darken. He turns toward the cameras with a tight, forced smile. Ladies and gentlemen, my wife is upset. Let us move on, but the room is no longer listening to him. It is watching her. Lila feels the energy shift. For the first time since the marriage began, she is not invisible. She straightens her back. If anyone wants the truth, she says, I will share it. All of it. The entire ballroom inhales sharply. Ezra's eyes widen, not with anger, but with something closer to fear. Because he knows that Lila does not bluff. She never has. And tonight, she finally stopped being afraid of him. The ballroom holds its breath as Lila stands beneath the chandelier glow, her torn ivory gown trembling against her legs, her clutch pressed to her ribs like a shield she never meant to use. Ezra steps closer, lowering his voice into the tone he always uses when he wants control without raising suspicion. Lila, enough. Come with me. Now. She does not move. The cameras are on. The eyes are on her. For the first time, she is not the silent wife in the background. A reporter inches forward. Mrs. Blackwood, what truth are you planning to share? The question hangs heavy, the way thunder hangs right before the sky breaks open. Lila looks at Ezra, at the man who tore her dress just minutes ago, the man who treated her as an accessory instead of a partner. She remembers page 5 of the contract, the line that said she must present herself as agreeable, polished, and compliant. She remembers the night she tried to be all three. She remembers failing, simply because she was human. The truth, she says carefully, is that humiliation only works on those who still care about the person hurting them. Ezra stiffens. That line is not loud, but it hits him harder than anything she has said so far. The crowd murmurs, reading between the lines. She takes another breath. For a year, I stood beside a man who wanted a perfect image, not a real partner. But I signed that contract to save my mother's home. I signed it believing I could survive whatever coldness he threw at me. Ezra's mask cracks for a moment. A tiny flicker. A fracture. Nobody notices except her, but it is enough. Lila continues, her voice steady. And I tried. I truly tried. But tonight, when he tore my dress, something finally changed. Someone in the crowd whispers, she is brave. Another whispers, she is done with him. Ezra makes a sharp gesture to the head of security, who starts moving through the crowd as if preparing to intervene. Lila catches it from the corner of her eye. Planning to escort me out, she says quietly. That would be quite the headline. Ezra exhales sharply, frustration slipping through. Lila, this is not the place. You are upset. We can discuss this privately. She turns fully toward him, and her voice softens in a way that hurts sharper than anger. We never discuss anything privately, Ezra. You lecture. I listen. That is not marriage. That is a cage. Another shockwave passes through the ballroom. Guests shift uncomfortably, unsure of whose side they should appear to support. A woman near the front says, let her speak. And then another voice echoes it. Lila nearly falters at that, because she has spent a year believing no. One sees her, no one hears her, no one cares. But now they do. And that is exactly why Ezra's fear is growing. She lifts her clutch once more, fingers brushing the folded paper inside. The evidence. The email chain where Ezra's own chief financial officer discussed leaking false stories about her background to weaken Ezra's negotiating stance with a rival firm. A plan that involved destroying her reputation in order to secure a merger. A plan Ezra never fully stopped. She had not intended to expose any of it tonight. She had not intended to expose anything. But he tore her dress, and something inside her rose from the ashes. She pulls out the folded paper. A ripple of tension snaps across the room. Ezra takes a step forward, eyes darkening. Do not do this. Why? She asks quietly. Because it will embarrass you. He opens his mouth, but nothing comes out. The silence is answer enough. Lila unfolds the paper in full view, the crisp rustle echoing louder than the music that has long since stopped. 2 weeks ago, she says, facing the crowd, I found this. The cameras zoom in. Ezra looks like he is standing on shards of glass. It is an email chain, she continues, detailing a plan to smear my name, to make me look unstable, dramatic, and unfit for high society. A plan created by someone working for my husband. The crowd erupts in whispers. Ezra tries to step forward again, but she lifts a hand, stopping him with nothing but the weight of her voice. I did not come here to hurt you, Ezra. But I will not let you hurt me anymore. The room goes silent once more. Lila inhales, her voice steady as the truth finally pours out. If you want to tear my dress, go ahead. But I will tear the lies you built your reputation on. Ezra's jaw tightens. And for the first time tonight, the fear in his eyes is unmistakable. The ballroom sinks into a heavy silence as Lila's words settle like dust over shattered glass. She holds the unfolded email in her trembling hand, but her voice stays steady, stronger than she ever thought it could be. Ezra's face is a storm barely contained, the kind that has leveled entire boardrooms, the kind that has made executives resign without a fight. But this time, his power does not shift the room. His anger does not intimidate the crowd. And for the first time since their contract marriage began, his fury does not touch her. Lila looks directly at him, not flinching when his jaw tightens. You knew what they were planning, she says softly, but her voice travels across the ballroom like a clean knife. And you let it continue. You let them drag me through the mud because it benefited you. Ezra shakes his head. You do not understand the context. Then explain it, she replies. Right now. In front of everyone. He freezes. There is no explanation that will save him without hurting him more. That alone tells the truth. Cameras inch closer. Guests lean in. A woman in diamonds whispers, he is cornered. Ezra finally speaks, keeping his tone low as if he can somehow still control the narrative. Lila, this is not the place. You are emotional. We can handle this privately. That is exactly what you wanted, she says. For everything to stay hidden. For me to stay quiet. For your image to stay spotless. Her voice cracks, not from weakness, but from finally breaking through the glass ceiling of silence he built around her. You tore my dress because you could. But you let them tear my dignity because it helped you. The crowd shifts uneasily. Ezra's head of security inches closer to the stage, but one sharp look from Lila stops him in his tracks. Ezra sees it, she sees it, the entire room sees it. She finally has power. And she did not take it. He handed it to her by underestimating her. Ezra steps closer, lowering his voice to a bare whisper meant only for her, but the tension in the room is so thick that even the whisper feels loud. You will destroy everything. You already did, she answers, barely moving her lips. I am just showing them the pieces. A man in the back calls out, is the email real? Lila lifts the paper. 100% real. Ezra stiffens. But then Lila does something unexpected. She folds the email carefully, neatly, almost gently, and places it back inside her clutch. Ezra's eyes widen slightly. She is not detonating the bomb he feared. Not yet. The audience shifts, confused. Some lean forward, some whisper, some look between the two like they are watching a marriage unravel in slow motion. Lila inhales. I did not come here tonight to destroy my husband's company, she says, her tone even. I came to defend myself. That is all. The room releases a collective breath. Ezra studies her, thrown off balance. Then why show that, he asks, almost quietly. Because power thrives in the dark, Lila replies. I needed them to see that I am done living in the shadows. The crowd murmurs again, but this time, it is full of respect, not shock. Ezra's composure slips further. His chest rises faster, his grip tightens at his sides, his eyes scan the room as if searching for an exit that does not exist. Lila softens her voice once more, but this softness is not weakness. It is finality. Ezra, I did not want a war. I wanted a marriage. I wanted honesty. I wanted to feel like more than a name on a contract. Someone in the front row whispers, she loved him. And in that moment, Ezra realizes it too. The thought hits him so fast his breath catches. He speaks without thinking. Lila? I did not know. She nods. That is the problem. You never asked. The quartet in the corner finally lowers their instruments. The flash is dim. The ballroom feels smaller, as if the walls are closing around them both. Lila steps back, her torn gown shimmering under the lights like a wound made of silk. I am leaving, Ezra. His jaw tightens. You cannot. Watch me, she says. And then, without anger, without hesitation, she adds the line that turns the entire ballroom into stunned silence. I am not your wife anymore. I am just the woman who survived you. Ezra's world stops. Completely. Ezra stands frozen in the center of the ballroom as Lila turns away from him, her torn gown trailing behind her like a flag of quiet rebellion. The crowd parts instinctively, unsure whether to follow her with their eyes or pretend they saw nothing at all. Cameras flicker, but no one dares speak. Even the air seems frightened to move. Ezra's throat tightens as she walks toward the exit, each step echoing like a countdown. He has negotiated billion-dollar mergers without blinking, he has faced hostile takeovers without losing sleep, he has commanded boardrooms like a general. But he has never felt fear like this. Fear of losing the one person he never truly tried to understand. He steps forward. Lila? She does not turn. He tries again, louder this time, his voice cracking in a way that startles even himself. Lila, please. Still, she keeps walking. The security guards stationed at the doors glance at each other, unsure whether they should stop her, let her pass, or pretend this is none of their business. Ezra's head spins. His world, his control, his identity is slipping through his fingers faster than he can grasp. He moves through the crowd, ignoring the whispers, ignoring the dozens of eyes darting between him and his wife like they are watching an empire fall. Lila, wait, he calls again. This time, she pauses. Just 1 second. Just enough for him to hurry toward her. When she turns to face him, her expression is calm, steady, heartbreaking. What do you want from me now, Ezra? He swallows hard, the words clawing up his chest. I want to explain. You had a year to explain, she replies. You had a year to be human with me. Someone behind them whispers, he is begging her. Ezra feels heat on his neck, embarrassment mixing with something deeper, something raw. But for once, image does not matter. Pride does not matter. Only she does. Lila, I did not know you felt this way, he says, struggling to keep his voice steady. I thought you understood the arrangement. I thought you were comfortable. Comfortable, she repeats, not angrily, but with a quiet sadness that cuts far deeper. Being ignored? Being minimized? Being a piece of decoration you place beside you when it benefits you. He winces. She shakes her head. Ezra, I am not leaving because you tore my dress. I am leaving because you tore everything else long before tonight. Her words land like a quiet blow. And for the first time, Ezra feels something he has never allowed himself to feel. Shame. Real, piercing shame. He takes a step closer, lowering his voice. Tell me how to fix this. You cannot fix a marriage you never entered, she answers. You signed a contract. I signed a hope. The room behind them feels like it is holding its breath. Ezra nods slowly, the truth settling in like a weight he cannot push away. Let me drive you home, he says, barely audible. No, she answers gently. I will. Take a taxi. The smallness of that sentence destroys him. Lila walks past him, and this time he does not try to stop her. She slips through the ballroom doors, leaving behind the golden glow, the cameras, the whispers, and the man who never realized how much he had until she walked away. Outside, the night air is cold, crisp, and real in a way the ballroom never was. Lila wraps her arms around herself, the torn fabric fluttering against her legs as she waits for the taxi she called on her phone. She feels strangely light, as if the weight she carried for an entire year finally cracked open and drifted away. Minutes pass. Inside, Ezra stands alone near the door, watching her through the glass. For once, the billionaire who has everything does not know what to do. He does not know which words can reach her. He does not know how to outrun consequences he created. He only knows one thing with painful clarity. If she leaves tonight, he may never get her back. Lila steps into the taxi, the door closing with a soft click that feels like the end of a chapter. Ezra's chest tightens painfully as the car pulls away from the curb. But Lila does not look back. Not even once. The taxi carries Lila away from the glowing towers of the city, away from the marble floors and the sparkling chandeliers, away from the man who never learned how to hold her heart without crushing it. She watches the skyline shrink through the window, a reflection faint against the glass, her torn gown gathered in her lap like the last fragile piece of a life she is done pretending to belong to. For the first time in a year, she feels something close to peace. Exhaustion, yes. Heartache, yes. But underneath all of it, a quiet, steady peace. The taxi drops her at the small apartment she kept long before Ezra Blackwood ever entered her world. She never gave up the lease. Something told her not to. The hallway smells like old carpet and someone cooking soup down the hall, and it is the first familiar scent she has breathed in months. Inside the apartment, she flicks on the lamp beside the couch. The soft light warms the room, wrapping around her like a gentle embrace. No marble. No crystal. No cameras. Just four walls that never demanded perfection. She sinks onto the couch, dropping her clutch beside her. The folded email, the proof of betrayal, slips partly out. She stares at it for a long moment. Then she pushes it back inside. Not tonight. Tonight, she just wants to breathe. Meanwhile, on the other side of the city, Ezra stands alone in the penthouse. The silence is suffocating. It is not the usual quiet luxury he enjoys, it is a hollow, echoing emptiness that follows him from room to room. He loosens his tie, but it feels like nothing loosens the grip around his chest. Her voice follows him with every step. I am not your wife anymore. I am just the woman who survived you. He pours himself a drink, but he does not take a sip. He is not sure anything can numb this. For hours, he paces the penthouse, replaying every moment of their marriage, and for the first time, he sees it clearly. He sees the small ways he dismissed her. The quiet ways he pushed her aside. The coldness he justified as practicality. He sees her standing by his side at events, smiling through nervousness he never bothered to understand. He sees her curled on the penthouse sofa reading a book late at night because she was too lonely to sleep. He sees the way she flinched slightly whenever he raised his voice, even if it was not at her. He sees the truth. He never treated her like a partner. He treated her like a placeholder. And because of that, he lost her. The next morning, sunlight pours through the penthouse windows, but it does not warm him. Ezra grabs his phone and scrolls through messages from board members, investors, and publicists. They are all asking the same question. Is the marriage over? But the message that freezes him comes from his chief financial officer. A simple line. She has the emails. Ezra closes his eyes. The panic crawls in, sharp and undeniable. Not because she might use them to destroy him, but because she had every reason to. And she still did not. She walked away with her dignity, not revenge. And in that moment, Ezra realizes something else. She was always stronger than he ever gave her credit for. He sets the phone down and grabs his coat. He needs to see her. He needs to look her in the eyes without cameras, without crowds, without contracts. He needs to ask for something he has never asked anyone for. A second chance. Lila is sitting at her tiny kitchen table when she hears a knock at the door. 3 soft knocks. Familiar. Her heart stutters, but she forces herself to stay still. Another knock. Lila, Ezra's voice calls from the other side. Please. I need to talk to you. She closes her eyes. The part of her that once longed for him trembles, but the part of her that survived him stays grounded. She walks to the door but does not open it. Ezra, go home. His voice breaks through the wood. Home is wherever you are. A painful silence stretches. I am sorry, he says quietly. I know it means nothing after everything I have done. But I am sorry. Lila swallows the lump in her throat. Ezra, apologies do not fix patterns. I know, he whispers. But let me try to change the pattern. She rests her forehead against the door, torn between the ache and the truth. I do not trust you, she finally says. A beat passes. Then Ezra answers, voice trembling. Then let me earn it. She closes her eyes as tears gather. Because for the first time since she met him, the billionaire on the other side of the door does not sound powerful. He sounds human. For a long moment, Lila keeps her forehead pressed against the door, breathing slowly as Ezra's words linger in the quiet hallway. The weight of everything he has done, everything she endured, balances against the fragile tremor in his voice. She remembers the gala lights exploding around her like fireworks of humiliation. She remembers the cold distance in his eyes. She remembers signing the marriage contract while praying she had not made the greatest mistake of her life. But she also remembers the way he said her name just now, not as an order, not as a transaction, but as a plea. Lila takes one small step back from the door. Ezra, she says through the wood, her voice steady, earning trust is not about words. It is about action. Then tell me what actions I need to take, he replies immediately, desperate to hold on to the conversation. Tell me where to start. She closes her eyes. Start by leaving. He goes silent, and she can feel the sting of that silence even through the barrier between them. I do not mean forever, she adds. But right now, I need space. I need clarity. I need myself. Ezra exhales shakily. I understand. There is a pause, and she hears him take a small step backward. May I ask one thing? What? She whispers. Do not close the door on the possibility of us, he says. Not yet. She does not respond. The silence becomes its own answer. Ezra swallows hard, tapping his knuckles gently against the door one final time before walking away. When his footsteps fade down the hallway, Lila lets out a breath she did not realize she had been holding. She slides down against the door, the cool wood steady behind her, and she lets herself feel everything she had been holding together since the gala. By the time the sun sets again, Lila has changed into comfortable clothes, washed the mascara from her cheeks, and tucked the torn dress into a garment bag. It feels symbolic, almost ceremonial, like putting away the last painful relic of a year spent pretending. That night, she falls asleep on the couch without meaning to, exhaustion pulling her under. Meanwhile, Ezra does not sleep at all. He spends the night at his office, the city lights stretching endlessly below him. The email chain sits open on his laptop screen, the damning proof of the scheme his chief financial officer orchestrated. A scheme he did not stop. A scheme that hurt Lila more than he ever admitted. His chest tightens as he scrolls through the messages again. Every line is a reminder of how blind he had been, how easy it had been for others to manipulate his silence into cruelty. At 6 in the morning, Ezra makes a decision. Not about Lila. About himself. He calls an emergency meeting. By 7, the conference room fills with senior executives and shareholders. Some look concerned, others annoyed, but all are curious why Ezra Blackwood, the man known for never losing composure, looks like he has not slept and is about to dismantle an empire. Ezra stands at the head of the table, shoulders squared, eyes sharp with purpose. I will get straight to the point, he says. There was a scheme executed within this company to smear the reputation of my wife. Unease ripples across the room. The chief financial officer shifts in his chair, pretending to remain calm. Ezra continues, the intent was to harm her public image and to manipulate negotiations. The emails exist. I have read them. I will not tolerate this. The chief financial officer clears his throat. Sir, we were acting in the company's best interests. Ezra's stare turns to ice. Destroying my wife was never in this company's best interests. A collective breath is sucked in around the table. Ezra steps forward, placing a thick folder on the table. You are terminated. Effective immediately. The chief financial officer sputters, you cannot do this, I just did, Ezra says. Security will escort you out. It happens fast. The shock, the outrage, the security officers stepping forward. But Ezra's attention is already elsewhere. He leaves the room without waiting for applause or arguments. He heads straight to the elevator, pressing the button with a determination he has rarely known. Because firing a man who betrayed him is not the act that matters. The act that matters is who he is doing it for. Lila? Hours later, Lila wakes to the sound of her phone buzzing on the coffee table. A text notification lights the screen. It is from an unknown number, but she knows exactly who it is. I took the first action. I hope one day you will let me take another. Ezra. She stares at the message for a long time, her heart wavering, her mind steady. Trust is not restored in a day. Pain is not erased with a sentence. But for the first time, she feels something she has not felt in months. A small, cautious flicker of possibility. The morning light spills softly across Lila's small apartment as she stands at the counter pouring herself a cup of coffee, the quiet hum of the refrigerator the only sound in the room. She glances once more at the phone on the table, where Ezra's text still glows on the screen. I took the first action. I hope one day you will let me take another. Ezra. She reads it again, then sets the phone face down. She will not let a single message undo everything she has had to rebuild within herself. But she also cannot ignore the truth. Ezra did something real. Something tangible. Something he never would have done before. She breathes in slowly, reminding herself that trust is built in steps, not leaps. And right now, she is taking none. Across the city, Ezra stands on the balcony of his office, staring down at the morning traffic. Last night's exhaustion clings to him, but for the first time in months, he feels clarity instead of numbness. He thinks about the contract, the quiet woman he married, the rules he made, the walls he built around himself. He thinks about the moment she walked away in her torn ivory dress, and how the universe felt like it split in two. He does not want to go back to who he was. He knows that much. By noon, the news breaks publicly. Blackwood fires chief financial officer over misconduct and ethical violations. Ezra stares at the headline, knowing exactly what the world is thinking. Some believe this is a strategic move. Others believe it is damage control. But a few, the ones who matter, understand exactly why it happened. His publicist calls him repeatedly, but Ezra ignores every ring. He has no interest in building a narrative right now. He is trying to rebuild a person. Lila? Meanwhile, Lila spends the afternoon cleaning the apartment, not because it is messy, but because she needs her hands to move while her mind sorts through the storm inside her. Every time she folds a blanket or straightens a picture frame, she hears his voice through the door. Then let me earn it. She hates that a part of her softened at those words. She hates that another part of her wants to see whether he meant them. But hate is the wrong word. It is fear. Fear of opening herself again. Fear of falling for a man who has already broken pieces of her she is only now beginning to glue back together. She places the blanket down and finally picks up her phone. There is another message. This time it is longer. I know space is what you need, but I want you to know something truthfully. I did not protect you because I built a life where all I knew how to protect was myself. That is not an excuse. That is a failure I am trying to correct. If you never take me back, I will understand. But I will spend every day becoming a man who deserved the chance. You gave me. Lila sits on the edge of the couch, the message weighing heavily in her chest. She does not reply. Not yet. By late afternoon, there is another knock at her door. Not soft like before. Hesitant. She opens it slowly, only to find a delivery driver holding a carefully wrapped package. For Lila Blackwood, he says. She almost corrects him, but the name hits her differently now. She signs for the package, closes the door, and places the box on the coffee table. When she unwraps it, she freezes. Inside is a dress. Not a designer gown. Not an extravagant creation from a famous fashion house. It is simple. Ivory. Beautiful. Identical in fabric and softness to the dress she wore at the gala, but whole and unbroken. A note rests on top. You deserve better than what I gave you. This is not an apology. This is a replacement for the harm I caused. Ezra. Lila's breath catches. Not because of the dress, but because he understood. He finally understood. She closes the box gently, running her fingers across the lid. She stands, pacing slowly, torn between the woman who walked away and the woman who once believed he could be more than the cold man he presented to the world. Should she reach out? Should she stay silent? Should she continue guarding her heart? As she debates, her phone buzzes again. But it is not a message. It is a news alert. Ezra Blackwood addresses rumors about his marriage. Curious and cautious, Lila clicks the link. It opens to a short video clip of Ezra standing outside his office building, surrounded by reporters. One voice shouts, "Mr. Blackwood, is it true your wife left you?" Ezra does not flinch. "My wife did what she needed to do," he says calmly. "And she had every right to walk away." "Is the marriage over?" another reporter asks. Ezra pauses. Then he answers with quiet honesty. "That depends on whether I can become a man worthy of her. I will not pressure her. I will not chase her in a way that frightens or disrespects her. I will change. And if she ever chooses to come back, it will be because she wants to, not because she is bound by a contract." Lila's breath trembles. She watches the clip twice, then a third time. And for the first time since the gala, she feels something unexpected. Not anger. Not fear. Hope. A small, fragile spark of hope that maybe, just maybe, this story is not over yet. Lila plays the video one more time, watching Ezra stand among the crowd of reporters, not hiding behind a polished statement or a corporate shield, but speaking with a sincerity she has never seen from him before. The screen shows a man stripped of pride, stripped of rehearsed confidence, stripped of everything except the truth he should have discovered long ago. When the clip ends, the room around her feels impossibly quiet. She sets the phone down slowly, her fingertips lingering against the glass, her heart heavy and hopeful at the same time. For the rest of the evening, she walks around her apartment in slow circles, trying to make sense of the storm inside her. She thinks of the torn dress, the humiliation, the shame, the loneliness. Then she thinks of the replacement dress he sent, the emails he confronted, the man he fired, the words he finally spoke aloud for the world to hear. She thinks of the man she wished he could be, and the man he is trying to become. As night settles over the city, she knows she cannot ignore the truth any longer. She grabs her coat, takes one last steadying breath, and steps outside into the cool evening air. Meanwhile, Ezra sits alone in the penthouse, the same penthouse that once echoed with hollow silence but now feels unbearable without her. He stands near the large windows, watching the skyline flicker like a heartbeat he no longer understands. A soft knock echoes through the entryway. He freezes. For a moment, he wonders if he imagined it. Then it comes again, barely a whisper against the door. He walks toward it slowly, each step uncertain, each breath uneven. When he opens the door, he sees her standing there, her hair slightly tousled from the wind, her eyes steady and searching. His heart stops. "Lila," he whispers, almost afraid the name will scare her away. She studies his face for a long moment, searching for signs of the man she left and the man he is becoming. "We need to talk," she says softly. He nods immediately, stepping aside. Come in. She walks into the penthouse, and the air shifts between them, filled with awe. The words they have left unsaid. Ezra closes the door gently, turning to face her. Thank you for coming, he says. I did not expect. I watched the interview, she interrupts. All of it. His breath catches. I meant every word. I know, she replies. That is why I am here. They move to the living room, but neither sits. The distance between them feels fragile, like a bridge rebuilt plank by plank. Lila finally speaks. Ezra, I did not come here for apologies. I heard your apology. I accept it. But apologies are only the beginning. He nods, his voice quiet. I know. She continues, her tone gentle but firm. I came here because I saw something in you today that I have never seen before. Vulnerability. Accountability. Respect. A small, hopeful breath escapes him. Lila, I want to earn your trust. Every day. In every way. Then start by listening, she says. Truly listening. I am listening now, he replies. She steps closer, her eyes shining with a mixture of sadness and something warmer. The contract marriage is over. That chapter is done. If we move forward, it must be real. No rules. No silence. No pretending. Ezra's voice drops to a whisper. I do not want a contract. I want you. The admission hits her harder than she expected. Then show me, she says. Not in grand gestures. Not in gifts. Show me in how you treat me, how you speak to me, how you stand beside me. He nods again, swallowing the emotion rising in his throat. Whatever it takes. She hesitates, then takes another small step forward. I am not promising we will succeed, Ezra. I am promising only that I am willing to try. His chest tightens with relief, and for the first time, he allows himself to smile, soft, genuine, unsure but real. Trying with you, he says, is the first thing that scares me in the best way. Her lips curve slightly. Then we start slowly. Day by day. Ezra reaches out, stopping himself before touching her, leaving his hand suspended in the space between them. She looks at it, then at him, then places her hand gently in his. It fits differently this time. Not because the shape changed, but because the meaning did. They stand there quietly, holding hands in the dim light of the penthouse, two people broken in different places but learning, finally, how to rebuild together. Lila lifts her gaze. No more tearing each other apart, she whispers. Ezra squeezes her hand. Only building, he answers. The city glows behind them, soft and distant, as if blessing the fragile beginning of something real. And for the first time since their story began, both of them step into a future not built on contracts or conditions, but on the simple, powerful choice to love and be loved.